We are trying to be part of finding technical solutions on how we're going to feed the future really huge mega cities of the world. We are sure that we will have many reasons for growing food large scale inside our cities, and we want to be part of developing those new solutions for how to do that. We do believe that we will have three different problems to feed people living inside the city. One is the vast geographical sprawl of the cities. 2040, 2050, most scientists agree that 80% of 9 billion people will live inside cities. And already today, we are using 80% of the arable land that we have on the whole planet. If you put these two developing curves together, then you easily realize that what will happen is that we have to grow food, large scale, inside the city. City is a dense environment. The land is really, really expensive. So if you want to grow things in the city, you have to go vertical. And to go vertical, then you have to develop new technical solutions, and that's what we're doing. Constructing a building where you don't work with horizontal stories. Instead, we have an open construction using a helical shape that lets much more sunlight into the core of the building. And then we have a patented logistics system for how to move our crops at the same time as they grow inside this vertical building. Little people going into the system as you possibly could to protect it from having to use pesticides and other things. What we, and everyone else, is developing is therefore a system that is everything goes around. You plant at the same place as you harvest. That means that the whole farming machine that we are building is much more efficient than if you would do this on free land, because then you would move things around all the time. Here, in a sense, you're actually moving the field that you're growing on. Instead of moving people and machines around, you move the things that are growing. And that means that it gets much less labor intensive.
If you're not going to grow your plants in soil, how do you grow them?
We were presented by not a totally hydroponic system, but a system where we use hydroponics, but actually also peat, a volcanic stone that we can grow and get the same result as if we would grow in soil. The thing with tasty food is that if you grow things in a liquid, then you don't get really, really good food. You can get the same nutritious food, but it doesn't taste as well. That depends on the roots not getting oxygen enough. But if you use peat and hydroponics, then you will get the same taste and healthy food. If you would measure them, I think that ours will be even better.
I remember at 17, they told us all to go and find our dreams, work hard, and we could change the world. Well, we all went out, did what we could, but Just because you can doesn't mean you should. 3 billion of us, yeah, we really changed the world. One thing I'd still like to see is wisdom keeping up with technology. 'Cause wisdom, it seems, is in short supply. Maybe we should have been thinking twice before we continued wrecking paradise. 3 billion of us, where else can we go?
Today I want to talk about something that most of you already know. It's hot outside. It's really hot. And if this feels worse than normal, that's because it is. We just found out that July was the warmest month on record. Warmer than any other month since we began keeping track more than a century ago. On top of all this heat, we're also experiencing one of the worst droughts in over 50 years.
People cannot afford to irrigate and fertilize their crops. And that's one reason there's 1 billion hungry people on the planet. Now, 1 billion hungry people is more hungry people than we've ever had in the history of our species. So you've got a challenge our species is going to have to confront that's really unprecedented, which is, how do you sustainably feed a population of 9 or 10 billion? Most of the world is actually low input agriculture. They cannot afford fertilizers and irrigation. So the crops have to deal with low soil fertility and drought. Drought, of course, is even a problem in countries like the US.
Are there some plants that could combine both systems, root systems nearer to the surface and root systems that go deep?
We think we have discovered a trait that would help us get shallow and deep. And we're working on a couple more traits, ways we can combine topsoil foraging or topsoil exploration with subsoil exploration. But this is exactly why research is needed. Nobody knows the answer to your question.
We're not the only ones in Oklahoma that are facing this crisis.
Is solving Norman's water shortage as simple as flushing the toilet, recycling sewage water back into its drinking supply?
It's a finite supply. It doesn't keep growing as our communities grow.
Several Oklahoma towns, including Norman, depend on Lake Thunderbird for its water. It's better now, but you can see what a few months of dry weather did to its levels earlier this year.
So we're not inventing something. We just want to incorporate our version of what we think would be good for Oklahoma.
And a good idea of what that might look like can be found right here in hot, dry El Paso, Texas. Water's a valuable resource here, but thanks to a very aggressive water treatment program, they hardly have to worry about their supply.
This plant is one of the few in the nation that is capable of taking raw wastewater and converting it to potable quality water.
El Paso has been turning sewage into drinkable quality water for 28 years.
An ugly effect of fossil fuels. Acid rain. Fossil fuels, oil, coal, and natural gas are running out quickly. And since much of the world's power depends on these resources in the next few hundred years, this could very well be a major problem. However, if we are not more careful about the way we use these natural resources, we won't have to worry about that. The world won't survive that long.